Today I fucked up by introducing my 3-year-old daughter to Santa. First time fuck up. Well, my wife and I decided to do the whole Santa thing since so many Christmas stories have him present and my daughter has loved it and been eating it up. We had her scribble a cute Christmas wish list to Santa and put it in the mailbox and explained how that whole process was supposed to work. We believe the mailman actually took the letter later that day before we could retrieve it as well. But that is besides the point. I'm just surprised he could decipher the to address. Well, later that day my daughter was dancing to Disney movies and causally mentioned, "When my Aurora dress comes, I'll be so happy." My wife and I looked at each other like, "Did you get her an Aurora dress?" We asked her what she was talking about and she just said, "Santa is getting it for me." After a few moments we realized she must have actually asked Santa for a few gifts for Christmas without telling us, and we did not anticipate our 3-year-old to comprehend the activity or let alone remember her list after the activity was completed. We then asked her if she wrote about more gifts to Santa and she responded, "Yes, I told Santa about all of the gifts." When we inquired about what she asked for, all she would say was Santa knows. We even tried to say that Mom and Dad would love to help Santa and get you some gifts as well. She just reminds us Santa is getting my gifts, and hasn't alluded to any other gifts she wants besides the Aurora dress. So unless Santa gets this letter and comes through, I guess we just commit to the lump of coal route to cover our asses. Can't think of any other option really. Fuck, too long didn't read. We let our 3-year daughter write a scribbled list to Santa and now she won't tell us what she wanted for Christmas because Santa knows and we don't know what to do except give her a lump of coal. You can still salvage this. Get her 2 dresses, one pink and one blue, and include a note from Santa saying that the elves couldn't agree on the color and they spent so much time arguing over which to pick that they ran out of time for anything else. Add some pink and blue paint or nail polish splatters on the note to really sell it. TIFU by not reading your kid's Santa list. I deserve a lump of coal. Mail got lost, right again. A great time to explain paying for proper postage and how frustrating USPS can be. Maybe take her to talk to a manager. I tell my kids Santa only brings one gift from your list. You can ask for as much as you like, but he only has room in his sack for one present per kid. I also told them that Santa has to pay his elves for the work they do making toys. So they need to be considerate of how much he has to spend to get them that toy. The more time it takes to make a toy, or the more elves involved in making the toy, the more it costs Santa to pay them for the work. We don't want Santa to run out of money because you were greedy and asked for an expensive present. Used that logic to convince my daughter to ask family members to give her gift cards so she could pool the money together to get a Barbie dream house for her birthday instead of expecting Santa to get one for her. I got the money ahead of time from those chipping in and she was able to open it as a surprise on her birthday. Since all your daughter is talking about is the dress, get her that and tell her Santa only brings you one thing from the list. And how are you going to explain that the little rich kid in his class get 40 presents from Santa? Or do you not have those where you are from? This is a genuine question. Write her a letter from Santa's elves telling her a reindeer ate her letter and to please have Mom and Dad help her mail a new list to the North Pole. I like this. We could make a legit elf card for sure. Today I fucked up by making my conspiracy theorist colleague paranoid. Obligatory, this didn't happen today but about 2 weeks ago. So I have this colleague that is really into different conspiracy theories, hidden governments, fake moon landing and so on. He's a really nice and funny guy that I often spend time with on coffee breaks, pre-COVID, and now we often talk on Teams while working from home. Only problem is that sometimes the conspiracies get a bit too much. We live in a country that has among the highest trust in our authorities in the world, so we mostly just shrug off his conspiracy comments. But sometimes I like to discuss them with him to just maybe get him to see it from another point of view, and because we both are engineers we like theory in general. So the FU. We were in a Teams call discussing a little bit of everything. At one point I commented that finally we might get back to normal soon when UK started vaccinations and our country will start in January. We discussed the testing of vaccines and such a little bit, and I started to notice that his conspiracy tendencies started to show, so I asked if he will take the vaccine when we get the opportunity. I barely had time to finish the sentence before he said no, never, and I asked why he wouldn't. He explained that he had read that the government have added nanoparticles or something similar that would allow them to track everyone that are taking the vaccine. I jokingly responded with, wouldn't that make everyone that's not taking the vaccine look suspicious and become a target for the government? His response was what I'd say is a nervous laugh. A while later he said that he didn't feel well and would take the rest of the day off. He didn't come online on Teams the next 2 days. He sent me links to probably close to 20 conspiracies those 2 days, and one of the posts was what I believe a post made by him trying to start a discussion about what the right decision is, to take the vaccine or not, with theories that I think I got into his head. He's back to work, but refuses to discuss anything regarding vaccines or COVID with me now. Too long didn't read. I put an imaginary target on my conspiracy theorist colleague's back by saying that he would look suspicious by not taking the nanoparticle tracking infused COVID vaccine. You sir, are a genius. This is no FU. Thanks lol. I just hope I didn't break him. A colleague literally uses Google, which is the mother of all trackers. Government already knows everything about us through our social security stuff. Maybe remind him that. I don't want to make it worse. Nanoparticles. Your colleague spelled mobile devices wrong. Mine even has cool fingerprint and iris scanners. Your engineer colleague believes that we have nanotechnology inside the vaccine that will allow the government, just yours, or is it directed at Americans and he took the bait, to track him? Sounds like 100k per vial to do what Google will provide for free pending subpoena. One thing I never get with this theory of the government putting trackers in our bodies, every single one of us is spending good money on very fancy trackers that we deliberately take with us wherever we go. I can't remember the last time I left my house without my phone in my pocket. Today I fucked up by getting baked and watching a Game of Thrones. Obligatory. This happened a few weeks ago. Weed is illegal in my country, and this means that most weed sold here is quite weak, THC 14%. I would not label myself a stoner per se, but I smoke regularly, mostly once to twice a week, meaning I know how to handle myself when high. Anyways, I had just picked up a nice eighth from my dealer and he had warned me this was some strong stuff. Internally I had rolled my eyes at this statement, as virtually all dealers claim their stuff is pretty strong when in fact it turns out to be as weak as usual. I had completely dismissed his warning, and by the time I got home I was ready to roll a fat joint and sit back and watch some Game of Thrones, my secondary watch. Incidentally, the episode that I was to watch that night was the Red Wedding. I'm not going to spoil this episode on any potential viewers, but take my word for it that this is one of the more dramatic episodes in GOT. Because I knew I was in for a treat, I rolled a fatter joint than usual as I wanted to elevate my experience of this great episode. I sat back and began watching while toking on my joint. Needless to say, the weed was actually some pretty strong stuff, and by the time I'd finished the joint I was well and truly stoned. I was loving the episode until the final few scenes when things took a grisly turn. Again, I'm not trying to spoil GOT, so I'll simply say there was a lot of screaming and blood, which can be said for nearly every episode of GOT, and this spooked me the fuck out. I had never felt as fucking high in my life, and my mind was racing with the most terrifying thoughts. Is the door locked? Is someone going to break in? Is what I just watched a premonition of what's about to happen to me? At this point I could feel my chest tightening up and I was getting to my breaking point. Cue the fuck up. I start to hear what I could only imagine as screams coming from my roommate's bedroom. This sets me off into a full panic mode, and for a second I am literally frozen. I try to tell myself I'm high and I'm just imagining the screams. But they keep going, and even though they're quite muffled through the walls, they seem to be getting louder. I get up and start slowly walking towards the bedroom door, while thinking my roommate is literally getting murdered. Weirdly though, I am quite calm at this stage because I feel like I'm being brave by doing the right thing and saving my roommate's life. I stand outside the door and the screams are now as loud as ever. I brace myself for whatever horrors await me. I burst into the room and see my roommate, balls naked, pounding his girlfriend from behind. The screams I'd heard were moans because my roommate, as I could see now, was pretty well endowed. Then the actual screams begin. The girl is shrieking and tries to pull the duvet over herself while my roommate starts shouting at me, asking what the fuck am I doing bursting into his room. I am still unbelievably high as this is all unfolding, but manage to muster the common sense to close the door as quickly as my baked body and soul will let me. I talk through the door and explain why I burst in. Slowly I start to hear giggling, which then turns to full-on laughter from my roommate. The girlfriend was still pretty pissed until I offered to share some of the weed out, and all three of us smoked a blunt the next evening. She understood then. Too long didn't read, smoked some very strong weed while watching a violent show, heard screams from my roommate's bedroom. In my stoned mind I thought he was being butchered, burst in on him having passionate sex. Damn bro, whatever you were on must be some good stuff. Need some dick pic of your roommate. This reminds of a time my friend burst into my room not because of screaming but to ask if I wanted burgers, but I was butt-ass naked straight out the shower. So do we get to see the proof your roommate is indeed well endowed? I mean, sometimes I do imagine screams / other weird sounds when stoned AF.